50 million years ago, a hungry wolf-like creature found the sea more inviting than the land. As schools of fish swam by, it put its paw in the water for the first time and snatched a meal. In that fleeting moment began one of the oddest tales in the history of life, the odyssey of a mammal and its journey back to the sea. To confront a whale is to come face to face with a paradox. These exquisite creatures are remarkably well adapted to life in the sea, yet their ancestors were born on the land. Until recently, no one knew where they came from. Their fossil tracks seemed to dissolve into the briny depths. What intrepid mammal millions of years ago seemingly reversed the course of evolution and set its sights on being a whale? Now, a stunning cascade of whale fossils is emerging from the ancient seabeds, each an exquisite link in a once broken chain. Sharktooth Hill, 75 miles inland from the Pacific Ocean in central California, is one of the most famous places in the world for finding fossils of sharks and ancient marine mammals. Here, paleontologist Larry Barnes and his team have uncovered the remains of dozens of extinct sea creatures that lived 10 to 15 million years ago.
The place that we're sitting now was at one time the bottom of the ocean, and as evidence of that fact, here is this whale skull sitting at my feet. This is a wonderfully preserved skull. We can see here the brain case. This opening is where the nerve cord goes to the brain. The eye was under here. The nostrils here.
Is there any other, do you want to put Gliptol anyplace else? We've got it. We might as well
I really don't want any more Gliptol on than we have to put on it.
Why?
Well, just...
For more than a century, the origin of whales has sparked one of the most heated debates in evolutionary theory. It began with the publication of Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species in 1859. Darwin believed that animals changed over time because nature selected those individuals with the most advantageous characteristics. Survival of the fittest. But how could earthbound creatures sprout wings and land mammals transform their legs into flippers? Darwin concocted a hypothetical tale to describe how one animal might evolve into a totally different species. He had heard of bears swimming for hours with their mouths wide open catching insects. So I can see no difficulty, he wrote, in a race of bears being rendered by natural selection more aquatic in their structure and habits with larger and larger mouths until a creature was produced as monstrous as a whale. For Darwin, it was a political mistake, and he realized it immediately. Critics pounced on the tale. Darwin wrote a friend that it is laughable how often I have been attacked and misrepresented about this bear. Vindication was not long in coming for some of Darwin's speculations. The year 1861 saw the discovery of a creature called Archaeopteryx, which was half bird, half reptile. What Darwin needed was an animal that was half bear, half whale, a link between the sea and the land. But there would be no discovery of a whale that could walk in Darwin's lifetime. Scientists did find early examples of whales over the next century, extinct whales unlike anything in the modern world. But they were all fully aquatic. There was no evidence of a link to land mammals. The search for a missing link would become a thorn in the side of paleontologists, according to Harvard biologist Stephen Jay Gould.
Here you have whales, who are obviously mammals. They give birth to the young alive, they have hair, they have all the features of mammals, but they look so unlike any standard mammal. Mammals are creatures with 4 legs that run around on land. And one yearns to have intermediary forms, but the fossil record is very imperfect, and evolution is often very rapid.
Today, paleontologists know that evolution usually proceeds in rapid spurts followed by long intervals without change. But in Darwin's day, evolution was perceived as slow and gradual. Scientists expected to quickly find the remains of a whale with legs, if such a fossil existed, but they were in for a surprise. The discovery would wait more than 100 years. In Louisiana in 1834, paleontologist Richard Holland discovered the scattered remains of a huge animal. Holland mistakenly thought it was an enormous lizard and so named it Basilosaurus, king lizard. Although the fossils were incomplete, Holland was confounded. Basilosaurus was very old, yet looked like a modern whale. It was a fierce predator with flippers and a large fluke tail. With the oldest known Basilosaurus, paleontologists had pushed the origin of whales back 40 million years, but there was still no hint of a missing link. Then, in 1989, in a remote desert in Egypt, Philip Gingrich of the University of Michigan discovered another Basilosaurus fossil. This Basilosaurus had legs. The legs were beautifully formed, but they were no bigger than a man's arm, too small to support an animal 50 feet long weighing as much as 20 tons. So, what were they used for?
I think they had to have some function, and it wasn't locomotion. I think they probably were used as copulatory guides, used to hang on during mating, which is, after all, very important in evolution.
The revelation that Basilosaurus had legs was tantalizing. It meant there had to be another, even older creature that could live and walk on land. Then, in a series of dramatic discoveries, the mystery was solved. The first big break came in 1983 in Pakistan. 50 million years ago, this was the shore of an ancient sea called Tethys that stretched all the way from Spain to Indonesia. But continental drift was rearranging the Earth's surface. India, then a separate landmass, was colliding with Asia, pushing up the Himalayas and emptying the Sea of Tethys.
As India moved north, the sea became shallow, and that shallow sea became saline, and the high salinity and the exposure to sunlight made it highly productive. Now, plankton eat the nutrients in the water, fish eat the plankton, and the importance for whale evolution, I think, is that there was a big fish resource there waiting to be exploited.
Scientists believe it was here that mammals first ventured back to the sea, and it was here that Philip Gingrich was looking for one creature and found another. What he found were the bones of an animal which, on closer examination, was clearly an early whale, 10 million years older than Basilosaurus. Gingrich named the new whale Pakicetus, whale from Pakistan. By reconstructing the skull of Pakicetus, Gingrich confirmed what many had long suspected, that whales evolved from a strange wolf-like animal with hooves called a mesonachid.
Here's a skull of a mesonachid and the skull of Pakicetus. If you compare them, you see that they're very similar to each other. And the main difference is that the front teeth in Pakicetus are smaller and much more pointed, which we interpret as being fish-eating teeth, whereas mesonachid like this use their teeth more for bone crushing and meat tearing.
Mesonachids lived along the edges of the Sea of Tethys 50 million years ago. The teeming fish and other sea creatures in the waters of Tethys must have been a tempting sight. The main fish-eating predators, the giant marine reptiles such as plesiosaurs and mosasaurs, had gone extinct 10 million years earlier. For any land mammals willing to venture out from the shore, there was little competition from other animals for the abundant seafood that filled the waters of Tethys.
If you have a shallow sea full of fish, the fish are going to die all the time. The fish wash up on the beaches, and a scavenger soon learns that there's a good meal on the beach. Pretty soon they're in the water catching the fish before they wash up. Pretty soon they're chasing the weak and the dying fish. Pretty soon they're chasing the living fish, and I think pretty soon you have a whale making its living by eating fish.
Evolving from the Masonichids, Pakicetus had developed not only fish-eating teeth, but also a thickened ear pad for hearing underwater. But Pakicetus was still very much a land mammal, spending only a small part of its time in the water. There remained a huge gap between this earliest whale and the fully aquatic Basilosaurus that appeared 10 million years later. If Pakicetus had indeed been the prototype of a primitive whale and grown in size, lost its legs, and developed a whale's tail, more intermediate fossils would have to be found to prove it. Philip Gingrich was in luck when he returned to Pakistan in 1993. He discovered the remains of another whale which lived some 3 million years after Pakicetus. But the new whale, called Indocetus, was still more at home on land than in the sea. Unlike modern whales, it had tailbones that were fused together, giving it added strength to support its weight on land. Likewise, its well-developed hind legs showed that Indocetus was still primarily a land mammal. Once again, the missing link had eluded paleontologists. What they needed was an animal that could both walk and swim. On the ancient shores of Tethys, the fossil record would not disappoint them. The most finely forged link in the whale evolutionary chain emerged in 1994. Like his colleague Philip Gingrich, anatomist Hans Thewissen also made the long trek to Pakistan in search of ancient whales. In sediments almost 400 feet above the beds that yielded Pakicetus, Thewissen and his associates collected the remarkable skeleton of a new whale. In his lab at Northeastern Ohio University College of Medicine, Thewissen assembled the skeleton and realized he had found the evolutionary Holy Grail, a relatively complete fossil of the elusive, the impossible, the always derided missing link. He called it Ambulocetus natans, the walking, swimming whale.
The most important single aspect of Ambulocetus is that it documents very well the shape and the size of the limbs, the forelimbs and the hind limbs. This specimen is more complete than any other primitive whale, and it shows us therefore something about how these animals swim, how they use those limbs in the water and on land.
Ambulocetus's complete limbs prove that it was the missing link. The enormous hind feet, held close to the body, were clearly adapted for swimming, yet were also capable of supporting the animal's weight on land.
If you think, for instance, of recent seals or sea lions, those are animals that spend most of their time in the water, but they come back to land to do copulation, to give birth, to suckle their young. But pretty much everything else is done in the water, and probably whales went through a stage like that.
Though Ambulocetus was a stunning discovery showing a critical step in the evolution from Masonichid to Basilosaurus, the remarkable parade of fossil evidence was not yet over. For Ambulocetus was an animal that swam with its feet, like seals. When did whales evolve into creatures that swam primarily with the use of their tails? Shortly after Thewissen's discovery of Ambulocetus early in 1994, Philip Gingrich found yet another whale, this one called Rhodocetus. In its tail, Gingrich found a key adaptation. Whereas the tail vertebra of early whales had been fused, enabling them to support themselves on land, the tail vertebra of Rhodocetus were detached from each other. It was a critical moment in whale evolution because the tail of Rhodocetus could move freely up and down, propelling the animal through the water. From a prehistoric creature with hooves and the face of a wolf to a graceful whale was a 10-million-year odyssey from land to sea. As their mastery of the seas became complete, whales would continue the drama of evolution, diversifying into new and breathtaking creatures. For paleontologists, these were the discoveries of a lifetime. In the space of little more than a decade, from 1983 to 1994, the often stingy fossil record had revealed an embarrassment of riches.
I would have expected that whales might have made the transition into the sea in 100,000 years. I would have expected it might have happened too fast to study. And believe me, I was happy when we found legs on a whale, Basilosaurus, 10 million years after Pachycetus, and we had 10 million years of geological history to work with and lots of chances to find intermediates, because it didn't have to be that way.
This, then, is the remarkable tale of the mammal's return to the sea. Some 300 million years after the first fish ventured out of the water to colonize the land, a mammal would begin to reverse the process. 50 million years ago, the dinosaurs are long gone, and mammals reign supreme. Among them are the strange Masonichids. The competition among mammals for food is fierce. Masonichids, ranging along the waterways in search of a meal, find the water more abundant than the land. Those that venture farther into the water survive. Those who don't die out. Their only legacy will be in the sea. The Masonichids develop into Pachycetus, similar but with fish-eating teeth. Pachycetus is at home both on land and at sea. Within a few million years, the seas have become the home of these creatures more than the land. But still they come ashore for the crucial part of their lives, mating and bearing their young. Pachycetus has become the walking swimming whale, Ambulocetus natans. Another 3 million years and whales have evolved from Ambulocetus' dog-like tail and large head to Rhodocetus, a elongated skull, whale's tail, and shrunken back legs. It can go ashore easily, but much prefers the sea and may even bear its young there. Another few million years and whales have evolved from the seal-like Rhodocetus into the sleek, elongated Basilosaurus. They are utterly dedicated to life in the sea. Its tiny legs are useful for nothing more than hanging on during sex. It is a primitive whale and a fierce competitor. Basilosaurus is still a long way from some of the gentle giants that struggle to survive in today's oceans. But finally, the land had been left behind. That such an evolutionary adventure could occur once is truly remarkable. That it occurred twice is astonishing. But clearly it did. About the same time that the strange Masonichid was testing the waters of Tethys and finding them to its liking, another ancient creature took the plunge. This one larger, slower, and distinctly elephantine. Its gentle descendants would give rise to tales of mermaids and sirens. They are sea cows and manatees. Today, these delightful creatures are a rare sight. Only 3 species remain, and there are only a few thousand of each. The excavations at Sharktooth Hill reveal that in the past they were plentiful. Here, Larry Barnes has found fossils of manatees, some of them very similar to today's, and some of them very different.
One of the really exciting things about discovering new kinds of fossils is that we can find things that are totally extinct. Take, for example, this animal, which is neither a sea lion nor a walrus. It had 4 upper tusks and 2 lower tusks. And this lineage became totally extinct of natural causes at about 6 million years ago. Today we have left only sea lions and only walruses. So this is a totally unique kind of animal that we would not know about unless we studied fossils.
Many mysteries related to the evolution of land mammals into sea mammals still remain. Their bodies had to have undergone monumental adaptations to allow them to eventually stand the atmospheric pressure of deep ocean diving. When a mammal or reptile unused to underwater pressure rises too quickly from deep water, they will get what is known as the bends, or decompression sickness. Modern whales never get the bends. Their bodies are fully adapted. With the use of CAT scan and X-ray technology, scientists have discovered something that the naked eye could never. CAT scans of fossils have revealed that primitive whales and reptiles did indeed suffer from decompression sickness.
We found by accident that mosasaurs, marine lizards that died about 65 million years ago, developed bends. It then turned out that within a specific genera, within a specific group, every single animal developed it. The question is, when did the modification take place that protected from the bends? Bends is certainly not helpful to survival, and so we started looking at this question in other marine animals and contemporary animals. The most classic area of investigation would be whales. And we hope to answer the question, did whales have bends? If they did, when they developed bends? And by analogy, when they started deep diving, and when they developed the modification that protected them from the bends.
This fledgling study of decompression sickness in whales is growing rapidly. It won't be long before scientists will be able to determine the exact whale species that was the first to be fully adapted to life in the seas. By 1861, just 2 years after Charles Darwin published The Origin of Species, his bear-to-whale hypothesis quietly disappeared from subsequent editions. Scientists today admit that Darwin's unsupported speculation was not very scientific.
First of all, I wouldn't dignify Darwin's swimming bear speculation with the name theory. It's not a theory. It's one paragraph that he wrote as a throwaway in The Origin of Species. It was an egregious speculation, and he got a lot of flack for it, as he should have, because it was a silly speculation. Not necessarily false, just silly. It had no evidence to support it.
Yet Darwin's idea of a land animal evolving into a whale had been amazingly accurate. The only difference was that instead of a bear, whales evolved from wolf-like creatures.
For scientists, it has been clear for a long time that whales had land ancestors and that therefore somewhere there must have been these transitional forms. It's nice to now actually have the real fossils so one can show some of the skeptics that these animals actually existed, these animals that scientists had dreamed up for over a century, that they were actually there. The real fossils are now have now been found.
If you're satisfied with a story you make up about how transitions like this happen, fine. I'm not. I've always been more interested in finding the evidence, in letting, as it were, the fossils or the earth speak to me, as opposed to trying to impose some idea I have about it. And to me, that's the exciting thing about these fossil whales we're finding, is I feel like this is a story that the earth is telling us, as opposed to something we're forced to sit back and make up.
The story of how whales returned to the sea is an extraordinary tale. Who would have believed that a fish would grow legs, crawl out of the sea, and turn into a staggering variety of creatures, among them the dinosaurs? More extraordinary yet, that an animal would millions of years later shed its legs, return to the sea, and grow to be the largest creature that ever lived. But they did. In an evolutionary leap that seemed impossible, they'd gone back to the sea.